Why, hello there. We are going to get right into it. Episode 3, Double Pawns. So our hero goes to the tournament in Cincinnati. She sees Benny Watts for the second time. This time he is in the lobby, showing some chess to his friends and comes up with the cool line, "What's wrong with the Caracan? It's all pawns and no play." He then shows a position to Beth and the guys and asks what they would play. Beth and the guys unanimously say queen takes pawn. This turns out to be a huge blunder because, well, white is losing the queen after rook to e1 check. The rook has to take and the black queen is lost. He had to play rook d1 as the guys point out, but this is a huge blunder and surprising at this stage, given how good she is supposed to be at this stage, that she would blunder like this. But this was from a game Reshevsky with black against Mises in Margate in 1935. That's what Benny said, and that's actually true. But now again it was tournament time. We see her asking where her table is. This looks normal as well. Then a funny moment when she introduces herself to her opponent, whose reaction is quite funny. She meets Mike and Matt from the other tournament from Kentucky, and we see her analyzing her game from the tournament. This is normal, what people do. And we see the arbiters cleaning up. Quite often they have to, reset the boards and stuff like that. Finally, some game action. We see her opponent play bishop g6. Her mother showing support here, but now a little bit of a pet peeve. She took an e5. Well, she took the pawn, then she put the pawn on the other side, and then she pressed the clock. This is not what people do. Most good players, they can, in one fluid motion, just take a pawn, keep it in their hand, and then press the clock with just one or two fingers, like here. This may or may not have been myself. The audience, meanwhile, are seen wearing a pocket set, which is fairly normal, I would think, back in those days. We see rook takes b2, and then a simple queen e6, and Beth takes another dub. Then it's, well, the game for all the marbles in Cincinnati. She plays, well, first knight f4, then takes on e2 with a discovered attack. King takes, and then rook d2 checkmate. Simple, small combination, and this is enough to win the tournament. On the way back we see this scene as he's playing on a small set, and unfortunately this makes no sense whatsoever. Whatever she's doing has nothing to do with chess, and this was a little bit unfortunate. So we go on. She started to give autographs, she's getting famous, and I saw the scene where she got back home from the party at the girl's house, and well, I can tell you that the position makes no sense here. She's just analyzing, so position perhaps shouldn't make any sense. But now it's time for Las Vegas, the US Open. This is an actual tournament which is held every year, but it's not the US Championship. The US Open and the US Championship are not the same tournament. This board position, taken from the hotel room, did surprise me. It's from an actual game. With black was Evan Keller, and he was playing against Vasily Smyslov. Smyslov was a former world champion. At first I thought this was just a random position, but in fact the moves that she made during the photo shoot were in fact made on the board in the game Keller against Smyslov. We then have some quick chess action from the US Open, a very easy win. Queen f5, I mean black doesn't even have a queen. It was over in a few dozen moves, she said, but it looks like it might have just been 12 moves. Another scene with Benny, we see a mention of Reshevsky, but that game never happened, just fictional. And then we see Benny mention QGD and the Slav, and these are actual chess openings. QGD is actually the Queen's Gambit declined. But now it's on to the main showdown of the episode, the US Open. Well, Beth against Benny. Beth has white, and she's actually leading by a full point because Benny had made two draws, and we have this opening where she takes on f6, and they did mention double pawns when they were talking in the lobby earlier in the episode. So that's probably why he took with a pawn, to show her that, the double pawns weren't bad. In fact, queen h5 is virtually winning here for white. Instead, we have a fast forward, and unfortunately, in the openings he did play pawn to d4. And you'll see that in the current position there's a pawn on d2. This is not impossible, so the position could not have arisen. Again, a very, very bad continuation error. Rook g4 is also a big error, and instead we see her in big trouble as he's landing check after check, followed by a relatively easy knight fork, which nonetheless seems to catch her by surprise, which again is inconsistent with the strength she's supposed to have at the current time. So yeah, that's actually it for the third episode. The least amount of chess material, for me, the poorest episode in terms of chess content. But then again, we did have some, character build-up and such. But yeah, episodes 1 and 2 far superior so far, in my opinion. So once again, if you do appreciate the video, please leave a like and sub and help me to grow. And well, I will keep on doing this and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.